Hi everybody, it's Ellie here. Today we're doing our last residential lot in Willow Creek, Cypress Terrace. This is definitely the largest build I've done, with both 5 bedrooms and bathrooms, and I think it turned out awesome. As usual, this is base game only with no custom content, so please sit back, relax and enjoy the build. I wanted to make this build ultra modern, and for that I knew I needed to stretch my limit somehow. So to do this I put in an infinity pool and made the second story into the ground floor to have that space underneath the house. I toyed with the idea of making it an underhouse garage, but I was already having enough issues with the floor plan to properly commit to it. I wanted to make this build large enough for the Spencer Kim Lewis family, just in case people wanted to use the house but not play in it, so I did match the rooms to each family member or couple that would be living in there. There's 3 generations living in this house, so there are a lot of en-suites as well as a family bathroom. Overall, I thought the floor plan fit nicely and I was happy with how things were spaced out. As you can see, there are a lot of windows in this build. For me, whenever I think modern, I think of lots of windows, lots of glass walls, and I just think it looks nice to let all the light in like that. Also, where this is a modern build later on, for the flooring and wallpaper, it is just white tiling, white paneling and white wallpaper. Although when I go and decorate the rooms, I do put accent walls and wallpapers in as well, so I promise you it's not just white on white for the whole thing. For the terrain, there wasn't much that I could do due to the majority of the lot being under the main build of the house, so I decided to use a gravel terrain paint and put a border of paving slabs around the area. I like the little palm trees to add a bit of vegetation in there, but I'm kind of bummed out that I forgot to put any shrubs or anything on the front balcony platform. I also pop in a lot of outdoor lights for this build as well, as I think it will look nice all lit up in the evening. For the garden terrace, I do put some sun lounges in next to the pool, as well as a barbecue and outdoor eating places. One of the original family, Dennis, likes his gardening, so I also put in a lot of planters for him too. Starting off our interior with the kitchen, I used all the most expensive appliances as they looked the most modern. I haven't used the red accent in the kitchen that much before, so I decided to try and go for it, and I really liked how it turned out. I thought it might have turned out too vibrant, but I was worrying over absolutely nothing. Because all of the windows and half walls, I was a little worried where a few of the appliances would go, but in the end they all fit in there with the help of an island counter. Unlike usual, however, there were no stools around it. Next are the bathrooms, and oh boy, there's a lot of them. I started off with the ensuite to what would be Olivia's room, and I wanted both her bedroom and bathroom to be pink. I kind of wish that the base game townies could have favourite colours already given to them though, so that I could do that colour for their room colours instead of just relying on my own favourite ones. This bathroom is very simple and it's modern, and it's in a very small space, as you can see. I went for a shower instead of a shower tub combo, as I thought that, you know, where Olivia would be going to school, she'd need to shower quickly, and I didn't want her automatically going into the bath. I put in the usual accents and a couple of plants, and I really liked how it turned out. The next bathroom belongs to Vivian. I wanted to make Vivian's room more classic than modern, so she gets more of a traditional bathroom. I went for a beige theme for her, which I think turned out really well. A lot of the bathrooms are similar in this home, but I think there is only so much you can do before you run out of combinations with just base game furniture. Still, I liked how it looked, and I thought it fit her well. Now we have the ensuite for Eric and Alice's room. I pictured them being modern furniture likers, so I went for the more modern amenities in their bathroom. I gave them a shower tub combo as I thought it'd be nice for them to be able to relax at the end of their day over bringing home the bacon with a nice bubble bath. I also gave them countersinks, and I did it in a nice black and white colour scheme, which I thought worked really well and really nicely. I had more of an idea when it came to Dennis's ensuite. One of his likes and skills is gardening, so of course I made that his whole personality. The bathroom is garden themed, and I gave him a tub to soak in at the end of a hard day of gardening. I also really liked putting in the many plants around the bathroom, and I especially loved one that I placed above the bathtub too. Finally, to round it out, we have the family/guest bathroom. I mainly put this one in so that there was a communal bathroom for guests to use instead of them having to steal an ensuite when needed. It was an awkward shape to fit, but overall I think I managed it quite well. Also, fun fact, there are 5 toilets in this build, so if your sim has a bladder failure moment, you get an achievement for having a bladder failure when there are 5 or more toilets in a lot, so congratulations if you get that achievement. I started off the bedrooms with doing Olivia's room. I managed to use base game drawers in all the rooms this time around, and I love using that wall decoration of the hanging clothes. I thought it made for a nice area there. I was almost going to do my usual bunk bed desk combo, but I restrained myself this time around and gave her a normal bed. To be perfectly honest, I didn't add all that much personality to this room, and I forgot to add any skills. So I like to think that the kid who gets this room is just super laid back and chill and just enjoys playing with their doll's house. I liked putting in the starlights, I thought those were super cute, and overall I was very pleased with how this room turned out. Next up we have Alice and Eric's room. This is the only room that is specifically meant for a couple. I went for a light blue theme for this one, which I really like. I'm a fan of pastel and light colours, what can I say? I had a bit of trouble deciding the floor plan for those wardrobes, but eventually figured it out and thought it made the room look really nice and put together. This is also the only bedroom with a computer in it, as Eric has some skill in programming, so I thought he deserved his own PC for that. Despite the challenge of the floor plan for this one, I liked how put together it ended up being. For Dennis's room, as I said before, I made gardening and plants his whole personality, so it was a no-brainer to choose that wallpaper and bed. I added in a small seating area with a bookshelf, which I thought looked really good, especially with the large windows in front. I put as many plants as possible in there whilst still keeping things neat, as Dennis does also have the neat trait. And I also put in a couple of nature-themed paintings. I was really chuffed with this room, and it is definitely my favourite. With Vivian's room being more classic, I went for the Barnish bed, which I absolutely love for this theme. I also put in another area with clothes hanging up, as well as a footwear rack. This is also the only bedroom with panelling on the walls, which I think sets it apart quite nicely. I also popped in a bookshelf with a comfy chair in the corner for some nighttime reading. This last bedroom is a guest room. I've started adding these as with the Growing Together pack I often get a lot of guests and end up having to buy separate beds, so it's easier to just have it all there together already. This is also nice as well if you have the University pack and want a roommate. Or you could just have it as a nice spare room for any other sim guests. As it is a guest room, there wasn't much personality to it, but I still think it looked nice. The living room turned out fairly basic for this build. I used the more expensive telly, however, which was a nice treat, and the modern sofas were used as well. I wasn't sure what colour scheme I would go for initially, and thankfully for the modern furniture it all comes in white, so I can change it later. I ended up going with a brown and grey theme as I wanted something that would contrast the white of the walls and the floors. I also put in a chessboard and a couple of bookshelves, as well as an accent table behind the sofa, which I thought worked really well. I also enjoyed putting the plants around as well. Unfortunately, the dining room was also very basic with just the dining table and chairs. I did use this small alcove, however, to put in some accent tables, which I then covered with decor. I was pleased with the decorations that went on the table too as well. I like that the longer tables have room for that, as usually my tables go undecorated because of their size. I put in a study for Eric in this build, which I like doing as I don't often put studies in. This and the next room are the main skill building areas. I put a decent computer in here as well as bookshelves and a treadmill, as I sort of pictured this being a work from home office and that the sim might like going for a little jog on their break. And the last main room is an art studio. This was for Alice, as she has the painter extraordinaire aspiration, so it only made sense to me to have a dedicated art studio in this build. I love using the decorations to make these sorts of rooms, especially with all the easel palettes and sketches you can put on the wall. I put 2 easels in so that more than one sim can paint at the same time too. Overall, I really loved doing this room. Now we're just popping in hallway decor and accent tables. Where the downstairs is open concept, there's not that much to do, thankfully, and it is mainly just rugs and floor decorations. I do put the shoe racks in, as well as a little coat hook, which I think is really nice. There's also more sitting space. I remembered at this point as well that the balcony existed and put some small skill building bits out there, as well as a bench. Upstairs is pretty much the same as the downstairs hallway, but with more wall art because there's more wall space. I also pop in some additional lighting in the darker areas just to brighten up the hallway, as well as pop in a couple mirrors and rugs. And there's the final build coming in at just over 226,000 simoleons. It's been renamed to Infinity Terrace on the gallery. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time to do so. If you want to like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. But regardless, I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy the free cam view.